From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
On September 11th, we discovered the strength of our community. On that day, Carolina truly became a family.
Carolina students and faculty came together on Polk Place to honor the victims of September 11th.
1 year later, we're a different place, perhaps more caring, certainly more aware.
And more willing to gain strength from one another. Good evening, I'm Alex Lawson.
And I'm Jenny McClendon. Thanks for joining us. Americans are coming together today, September 11th, 2002, for a day of remembrance.
Memorial services are taking place all across the country today, including here in UNC Chapel Hill. Carolina's ceremony took place in the same location it did 1 year ago.
Carolina Week's Michael Handy attended the ceremony on Polk Place.
The South Building bell tolls for the 6 Carolina alumni who died on September 11th. This ceremony is dedicated to their memory.
As we all recall and mourn how they died, we should also remember and celebrate how each lived.
Remembering and celebrating is what those gathered on Polk Place did. Students, faculty, staff, and even emergency personnel lined up to place stones around the flagpole. It's a memorial dedicated to all those who died on September 11th.
Today is both a day to remember and a day to celebrate life, as Carolina honors its past and unites for the future. And it is with great hope that we will thrive as the leaders of a nation reborn.
September 11th need not only be a painful memory, it can also be a daily reminder to us all, a remembrance that we live in a community that discusses tolerance and defends freedom.
The ceremony continued with the Carolina Choir singing a selection from Samuel Barber. And later, Chancellor Measer placed 6 wreaths around the flagpole, one for each of the 6 alumni who died in the attacks on America. It was the Director of Alumni Affairs who perhaps best summarized the ceremony.
Chapel Hill native's son, James Taylor, concludes Carolina in my mind with these words: "Say nice things about me, carry on without me. I'm gone, yes, I'm gone."
Those gathered today on Polk Place will always remember, but they are carrying on. In Chapel Hill, I'm Michael Handy, Carolina Week.
That was a moving ceremony at Polk Place today.
The town of Chapel Hill is also remembering the events of September 11th. The police, fire, and public works departments and members of the community gathered on the front lawn of the Columbia Street Fire Station to remember the victims.
343 firemen, 70 policemen, who by making the ultimate personal sacrifice reaffirmed for all of us that courage, honor, duty, service, and compassion mark the exemplary American.
Forgive, we pray, our shortcomings as a nation.
Every day, that's why in everything I do.
The theme for the day was service, and university made it easy for students to get involved with a volunteer fair and a blood drive. More than 75 organizations set up on Polk Place. Students signed up before and after the ceremony on the quad to be ambassadors and mentors, to sit with elderly and mentor children. Student body president Jen Dom said earlier on the quad, "We are all called to service." This afternoon, many students answered that call. Students also responded to a Red Cross blood drive in Great Hall. The Orange County Red Cross is facing a severe blood shortage. Officials hope students and faculty would associate September 11th with giving blood. After 9/11 last year, the local Red Cross had to turn people away because of a record number of blood donations. Now the Red Cross is down to a 2-day supply of all blood types.
We all have different ways of remembering tragedy. UNC Chapel Hill students tell us they're spending the one-year anniversary of September 11th.
The flag flies at half-mast on the campus of UNC Chapel Hill today. But the flag isn't the only thing bearing the stars and stripes. 1 year later, students are finding their own ways to remember the day that shook the nation.
I'm going to go to the convocation at noon until 2 that's going to commemorate the people who died in September 11th, but also more specifically the people who died from UNC, went to UNC.
I plan on going to the ceremony here the university is doing and call some family members I have up in New York and some business workers and see how they're doing, just basically try to make it a normal day.
As the day progressed, the campus was anything but normal. Today on campus, there were many ways for students to remember the events of September 11th. From music on the quad to a speech from the chancellor, and even a quiet place for reflection.
I'm definitely spending it in mourning and reflection of all the lives that were lost a year ago, and here and abroad overseas.
Yet, through all the pain, many students are finding joy in the regular things of life.
It's a sad day for me because I'm from Washington, D.C., and a lot of my family members work down in the Pentagon, but also it's going to be a happy day for me because of my sister's wedding.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Jade Biggio, Carolina Week.
Though many students turned out for the ceremonies, others wanted to keep the day as normal as possible.
In this week's Speak Out segment, we asked students, should September 11th be a national holiday?
It should be a national holiday because there were a lot of deaths and lives that were lost, and we need to remember the things that happened.
It seemed to have affected so many people in such a huge way. Maybe some type of national observance on the day would be a very appropriate, and in time, definitely a national holiday.
I think in the grand scheme of things, it's a good idea, but I also think that when it comes down to it, in 20 years from now, it's going to be another day that kids can have it off from school.
I think perhaps a national holiday is a bit over the top. I think it's very important that we commemorate it and remember it was there, and I mean, it should always stay in our thoughts, but Easter, Christmas connotation, I don't know about all that.
Our sample isn't scientific and shouldn't be taken as a reflection of widespread opinion on campus.
Carolina has received a lot of coverage in the news this past year, but has it affected the way people think of the university?
Find out when Carolina Week returns, but first let's go to Kelly Mahoney to see what's happening with Gustav.
Well, Gustav has actually intensified to hurricane strength, even though it's well north of the tropics. I'll let you know if the first hurricane of the year poses a threat to our coastline later on Carolina Week.
The Ronald McDonald House is a nonprofit organization that provides a home away from home for families of children being treated at UNC hospitals. Since opening in 1988, the house has welcomed more than 1,000 families each year to stay at this safe haven. The house relies heavily on community support. How can you help? Become a volunteer. Help the house that love built. The Ronald McDonald House, the house with a heart.
What services come to mind when you think of the American Red Cross?
The Red Cross does blood drives, don't they?
They help out with natural disasters.
Giving blood.
Tornadoes and hurricanes.
Blood. Natural disasters.
I'll bet you didn't know that the American Red Cross also provides emergency services for military families and delivers health and safety instruction in first aid, lifeguard training, and CPR. Contact your local Red Cross chapter to learn more about the services they provide.
Chancellor Meeser says the university will comply with a new law requiring universities to track foreign students using the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System, or the CVISA database. Not everyone thinks the system is a good idea, but Carolina Week's Sudhir Kumar has more.
Foreign students are hoping the university will meet the January 30th, 2003 deadline to implement CVIS, mainly because non-compliance by the university could mean student visas won't be processed. This puts foreign students like Junior Pat Kim at risk of being sent home.
It just leaves us in a limbo trying to think of what's going to happen to us, and it just makes it a lot difficult for international students to stay here.
Some have mixed feelings about the new tracking system.
I guess I can understand the reasoning behind it, considering 3 of the 19 hijackers were on student visas, but I don't see where it's eventually leading to controlling terrorism.
According to officials, because of the heavy construction underway on campus, the university doesn't have the $20,000 to $30,000 it might need for the CVIS software. Professor Montek Singh was on a student visa until April. He says CVIS isn't worth the money.
I would say that the system, even though it has some merit, is not likely to be very effective at getting us what we want to get from it. And the reason for that is that it's only about 2% of all foreign visitors who come into the U.S. on a student visa. The other 98% are, as yet, completely unmonitored, and I haven't seen any other parallel legislation which is going to monitor them.
Because of that, some foreign students say they're being unjustly targeted. In Chapel Hill, I'm Sudhir Kumar, Carolina Week.
About 500 universities have already implemented CVIS, and thousands more are in the process.
Michael Sells is a name most Carolina students have heard by now. He's the author of the book Approaching the Quran that's brought national attention to UNC Chapel Hill. Recently, hundreds of spectators packed Hill Hall Auditorium to hear what he had to say. He enlightened the audience with background of his studies in religion and then answered questions. Sells says the controversy is welcomed because when opinions clash, new ideas emerge.
The important thing is that you're not asking students to agree with the author of the book. In fact, it's good if students pose critical questions. The point is that when you get to college, you have something in common that's serious and intellectual about something important to talk about.
If you'd like to have a copy of the book, you have to go online. Most bookstore chains don't carry it. While Carolina freshmen were reading that book, people across the country were reading about Carolina in the newspapers. Carolina Week's Aaron Dupois shows us how the events of the past year have changed the way people see Carolina.
Carolina makes its way onto the front page a lot. Last year, the university found itself in the spotlight because of some controversial teach-ins after 9/11.
After 9/11, the only school in the country that you hear about having teach-ins is Carolina.
This year, the media frenzy was about Carolina and a book.
A lot of the attacks were made by people who didn't read the book and didn't really study the assignments, and they just assumed, well, if they're putting a book on Islam that's not attacking Islam, it must be in favor of Islam, and it must be trying to whitewash what happened.
The comments and coverage vary like night and day. While some criticize the university for its liberal stance, others characterize the school as Deep South, Bible Belt. When one couldn't believe the school would pick a book about Islam, another was shocked at the criticism. Each felt the other was giving Carolina a bad name. But what kind of name does Carolina have? In reality, the school has 18% out-of-state students, which might explain a diversity of thinking. Students have their pick of courses ranging from history of rock and roll to human sexuality. I caught up with the leaders of the two largest campus political groups.
The university has earned itself a very liberal reputation, and then this summer to have the Approaching the Quran as reading material. I don't think the taxpayers understand it. I don't think the alumni understand it. I think that's why we've gotten our liberal reputation.
Honestly, I think it's a lot more conservative than people think. I think if you think the school's really liberal, you haven't lived outside of the South a whole lot. Compared to somewhere like Berkeley or Michigan, Harvard, we still have very many social norms that are not broached.
So it seems our name is in the eye of the beholder. In Chapel Hill, I'm Aaron Dupois, Carolina Week.
One thing not up for debate is how dry it is. Water restrictions in Chapel Hill and Carrboro are now up to stage 3, which means no outdoor water usage except for fighting fires. For the university, some areas off campus will be left dry, but not all of them. Wells like this one right here will provide water for some areas off campus, and that has no effect on OWASA's sources of water for the community. And Carolina Week's weather anchor Kelly Mahoney joins us now to let us know, is this drought going to get any more serious? Or
any hope for the weekend?
Well, probably not even with Gustav and the passing of a cold front. I'll let you know why in just a second, but first let's go to this week's weather question, which is, what is the origin of the word hurricane? Is it the name of the Caribbean god of evil, the Spanish word for windy, or a 17th century insult? I'll have the answer to the weather question and your weekend forecast when Carolina Week continues.
North Carolina is where the wonders never cease. It's where visitors and residents alike can be touched by these things and always remember the embrace of clouds around a mountain peak, sparkling water forever in a hurry, a bridge less traveled, an enchanted wetland forest, and the place where the sun meets the sea.
I need a break.
Yeah, well, what I need is a little peace and quiet when I come home. I've been working hard all day.
You have got to do something about that son of yours. I can't stand it anymore.
Well, maybe if you were a better mother, he wouldn't be such a problem.
Better mother? When do you ever spend time with him?
Family Counseling Service of Durham. We can help. Call 286-3757.
Hi, and welcome back to Carolina Week. Well, it seems that we're still stuck in the dog days of summer, as evidenced by this scene and the hot, sticky weather we've had this week. Highs in the 90s have had students and dogs alike seeking the shade to take a little break from the heat. And it's not just the heat that's been on everyone's minds this week. It is tropical storm, subtropical tropical storm, and hurricane Gustav. This week marks the climatological peak of hurricane season. And this season so far, we've had 7 named storms and just 1 hurricane, which incidentally just became a hurricane this week. So we're way below the average as far as a normal hurricane season goes. So I guess you could say we're lucky, but we also have to consider that we have about 3 more months to go until we're in the clear. Well, if we take a look at the satellite map, we can see more of what we're talking about, what's going on in the tropics and the rest of the country. Here you can see Gustav sweeping up the eastern seaboard. It's certainly out of the range of North Carolina's weather, but it has been called a hurricane, even though it's so far north. That's because convection, or storms and rain, have wrapped all the way around the eye, and maximum sustained winds are in excess of 80 knots, which is one of the strongest storms we've seen all year. Now, if you take a look down here to the south, in the southern Gulf and off the west coast of Florida, that's the area we're going to be watching over the next couple of days. That is what forecasters believe is going to be the next area of concern in the tropics. So we're really going to want to stay tuned for that, since we're right in the peak of hurricane season. You can see a band of clouds out to our west. That's the signature of a cold front that's going to be sweeping through the region over the next couple of days. And we can see that if we take a look at the forecast map. Once this front does sweep through the region, and that should be about Thursday night heading into Friday, it's going to make for a rather boring pattern behind it, but it's going to give us just beautiful weather. Temperatures could fall as much as 20 degrees as this front moves across the eastern seaboard. So what does that mean for the Carolina Week 4-day forecast? Well, it means some beautiful fall-like conditions. Sunny skies on Friday and Saturday with highs in the lower 80s on Friday and in the mid 80s throughout the weekend. A low of just 56 on Friday night, a low of 60 on Saturday, and lows in the mid 60s and dipping right back down into the 50s as we start to head into next week. On Monday, we could see a scattered shower as another front approaches the area, but it's a little too far off to tell. And with this great weekend on tap, we're really going to want to take advantage of that first. And speaking of a great weekend, it'll be great not just here, but at the beach as well. So if your plans include a trip down to the coast, you're in luck. A high of 86 degrees on Saturday under mostly sunny skies. Much of the same for Sunday, a high of 84, and mild lows in the low to mid 60s. So it looks great there. And if you're headed out to the mountains, well, nice weather's on tap all across the state. On Saturday, at least, a high of 77 under mostly sunny skies. And as that front approaches the western part of our state, you could see some more clouds on Sunday with a high of 74 degrees. If we and for the football forecast,
game time forecast is temperature about 73 degrees, but bring a jacket because once that sun goes down, it's going to get down into the 50s, so it might be chilly out there. But before we talk about the game against Texas coming up, anyone want to guess what the meaning of the name hurricane is?
It sounds like a name to me, so I'm going to go with A, I think.
It is. It's the Caribbean god of evil, and if you're into details, it tracks even further back than that to Mayan roots, so it's an interesting origin.
All right. Well, Steve, it does look like good weather for the Texas game on Saturday.
It does. We hope it lasts till Saturday because they already give away all 12,000 tickets. They did it by 3 o'clock, so a lot of excitement. As we go to break, we will talk about some of the brave souls who waited up to the 3 hours for tickets to Saturday's game against Texas, their thoughts and predictions of the showdown when Carolina Week returns.
When you shop in Orange County, your money comes back to you.
Thank you for shopping Orange.
So shop Orange and see what a difference you can make.
Did you know that 1,600 children are infected with HIV worldwide every day? The mission of the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation is to give children a future of hope. The foundation funds pediatric research to ensure that children are at the forefront of every scientific breakthrough. Every child deserves the chance to live a healthy life. Help give a child that chance.
Support the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation.
And welcome back to Carolina Week Sports. 2001 was a benchmark season for the men's soccer team as it captured the program's first national championship. So was the obvious question, can they repeat? Well, Benton Smith says that all early signs are pretty good.
It may be early in the season, but things are already looking up for the men's soccer team. The Heels returned their top 5 goal scorers from last year's championship squad: Ryan Kneiper, David Testo, Marcus Story, Mike Gell, and Matt Crawford. Early on, it's Kneiper who's leading the Heels. 4 games in, he has 3 goals and an assist, nearly 2 points per game, for Coach Elmar Bolwich's attack.
Of course, I'd like to say I hope I keep doing this. Any striker would say I'd like to score that many goals every game. All I can say is hopefully I can keep it up.
But the key to soccer success will be combining some defense and goalkeeping with that offensive punch. The Heels have to get stops if they want to make another championship run.
I know we need to improve. We haven't got a shutout yet, which we're working on. But I know we're going to step it up, and I know we're going to be fine this year.
Most people would consider the 2002 Tar Heels the defending national champions, but Coach Bolwich says they aren't.
Well, we are not the same team. We won the title last year. Nobody can take that away. And we are a different team. We recruited other players. Some players left. So we are not defending anything now. There's another championship to be won this year, so we are attacking it.
As the Heels make another title run, they admit they need to score more goals and play better defense. If they do, they have a chance at another title. In Chapel Hill, I'm Benton Smith, Carolina Week Sports.
Now, Carolina star David Testo will not travel with the team to the Adidas Brown Classic this weekend. Coach Bolowich suspended the senior forward for violating team rules. This weekend, the Carolina football team faces the Texas Longhorns, who, by the way, are ranked number 2 in the nation. The Longhorns are long on talent, and in order to win, the Hills can't afford to make many mistakes.
First of all, they have a defensive end, Corey Redding, that is the next Julius Peppers. I mean, he is awesome. He plays very, very high tempo. They've got running backs, they've got wide receivers that are fast and big, and they've got an offensive line that's huge, just enormous. And we'll be faced with the ultimate challenge.
Basically, to win any game, you have to play, almost perfect. But especially with a team like Texas and, the kind of weapons they have, we have to play an almost perfect game to win.
Bunning and Durant have recharged campus optimism going into this weekend's home bout against Texas. Tuesday, students got up early to see if they could get tickets for the big game. Their support for the team is so strong that they were willing to wait hours to get their hands on this season's golden ticket. and that's even better than a trip to the Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. We asked several students what they think about the country's #2 ranked team coming to Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Me and 4 friends decided that we're going to do the topless blue body paint, heels across the chest, and so if you're going to get on TV, you got to be downloading the field.
It'll be fun. It'll be definitely mayhem if we win. If we lose, it'll be mayhem too, because it's just always mayhem. I use the word mayhem.
I think it'll be good considering everything with Mac Brown and, you know, how he left everything. So I think the fans are going to get behind him, especially the students, and want to beat Mac Brown.
Hopefully Carolina will win, so it was worth it.
I got him today because I'm a sophomore, and I knew that he had to get out of bed early.
I just want to get a chance to see Texas play. They're a good team, and I think it's going to be a good game. And I was really hoping to get a chance to see an upset my last year here.
Well, Steve, at least a lot of the students are excited about the game this weekend. We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
It'll be interesting.
Sure will. All right, thanks a lot.
Images of September 11th are all over a Carrboro cafe.
But these pictures aren't ones you've seen before. We'll show you what makes them special when Carolina Week returns.
Hello, my name is Estelle Ward, and I'd like to speak to someone about my daughter Ruth's financial aid. Hello, yes, I'm Ruth Ward's mom, and I was hoping the university might reconsider. She got good grades. Hello, I'm Ruth Ward's mother, and I'd like to speak to someone about my daughter's financial aid.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
To whom it may concern, I'm hurting. All I done heard is blood-curdling curses. Mama pops are berserking again while I'm burning up in the furnace and searching for the explanation for what I did to deserve to get deserted and then repeatedly beaten in the face with my worthlessness. No sense of purpose. It got drowned, and I doubt if you were to open my mind and step inside it right now, you could even feel what I'm talking about. Cause for the pain in my veins, the words can't explain, and the hate is mounting, and I can't contain it. I'm bound to break out in the days I'm counting, and I'm sick of the shouting, man. I'm about to just.
Animal cruelty, human violence. Break the connection.
We have some late breaking news for you. Carolina Week has confirmed that world famous entertainer Bill Cosby will be the spring commencement speaker. Graduation is set for May 18th, and with this news, it's sure to be a packed house. It's going to be really, really exciting. Well, in this past year, we've heard a lot about what New York lost on 9/11.
But a photo exhibit in Carrboro reminds us of everything that's still there. The Open Eye Cafe is opening eyes to colorful images of what continues to define the Big Apple. Amid the sounds of coffee machines and conversation, customers can reflect on the city's response to its loss and how it's moved forward. The photos were taken by UNC Chapel Hill alumnus Joshua Corbin and will be up until the end of September.
Well, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Please keep watching as we have a special September 11th program titled 1 Year Later, Carolina Remembers. It looks back at how Carolina has been touched by the terrorist attacks. That's coming to you in just a few seconds.
We'll return next week with our regular coverage of campus news.
We leave you tonight with some sights and sounds from today's memorial ceremony.
Oh.